All right, it's 11:01. Let's kick off today's webinar. Welcome to Artifacts and our mobile app. My name is Heather Nickerson. I'm the CEO and co-founder, and I'm joined by my fellow co-founder, Ellen Goodwin. Today, we are excited to show and demonstrate all the features of the Artifacts app and also answer any questions you have. We plan to cover today how to create an artifact from the app and from using photos in your photo gallery, how to add documentation, how to use the what's it worth feature, how to add details for in the future, how to share artifacts, how to modify permissions and enhance your privacy settings, and answer any questions you may have. Before we get started, hopefully everyone has installed the app. But if you have not, you can go to the App Store or to Google Play. You can search for the Artifacts app, Artifcts. Sometimes Google likes to auto-correct that. You can download, install, sign in with your Artifacts login, and you're good to go. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen to start today's webinar on how to use the Artifacts app. We do hope to answer any questions you have, so please feel free to put them into chat. We've enabled chat for all participants. We will address questions as we get them, and of course, leave plenty of time at the end for additional questions. So with that, Ellen, take us away.
Hi, everybody. So you're going to have to bear with us. This is our first time doing an event using our mobile app. We hope it's successful, so you have this as a reference when we go forward. We are going to start off with the very basics. We hope you're signed in. If you use facial recognition, all the better to you. You wouldn't believe how excited people were when we installed that feature. Everyone loves secure passwords until they have to type them in. So to start off, we're going to talk about how to create an artifact. There's two ways to do it. Now, you can see I have my app open on the screen, and in the bottom center is plus artifact. When I select that, I have a few options. I can take a new photo. So if I'm bopping around the house or I'm out and about, I can take a photo just like usual, and I can select that. I can choose from an existing photo or video or an existing audio file. Now, the audio files come in really handy. If you have voice messages, for example, go to that voice message, you can save it and download. When you choose audio file, it will automatically go into your recent selections, or at least it does for me. You can see in the center, I have one called How They Met. I actually recorded someone telling me the story of how she and her husband met. It's a relative of mine. If I wanted, I could select that and add it into the artifact. I'm going to cancel out of that and go back, and I'm going to choose an existing photo. Now, here's where you have options. Basically, for most apps that you'll use like ours, you have to kind of load the photo album on the app that you're allowed to use. Once you have done that, you can always go back to those. But in this case, I'm going to choose to access more photos. I could also give complete access to all my photos if I wanted to, but for illustrative purposes, I'm going to do this. Now, I'm going to choose a silly photo of a calendar. I did not want to keep my calendar. I wanted to toss it because I don't like a lot of stuff. So I took a photo of it before I threw it away, and now I'm going to choose done. Now you can see it's in the gallery of photos that I have added to use, and you can see there's some videos and things there as well. I'm going to select that calendar, and I'm going to say done. That's the only one I want to use right now. Once you've selected an image, you have a choice of rotating it, cropping it, or choosing which one is your cover photo. Now, I only have one, so it will be the cover, the featured photo of my artifact. But if I had multiple images, as I continue and save each one, I could choose which one is my cover. I'm going to say continue. And now you can see it's up there in the photos. I can go back with that little pencil icon at any time to edit it if I would like to. And I can also add plus and add more photos if I want to. Or I can click manage. When I have multiple images here, I can then move them around. Let me go ahead and add one more photo just so you can see what that looks like. It's not going to make sense, but that's okay. We're going to choose one of my daughter making homemade pasta. All right, now we have her. Looks good. I click save, and now I have two. You see, by doing that, I can now choose which one is the cover, and I can also click and drag and reorder them if I want to. Now, I really don't need a picture of my daughter making pasta. I'm going to hit delete and get rid of that. Continue. And now I'm ready to start creating my artifact. That's option one, starting from within the app. See, whoops, If we're not filling in all the fields, it's going to yell at you. We're going to just cancel, quit without changes, and I'm going to go back out. So we just showed you how to use this plus feature on the app. Now, on the other hand, a lot of us are very guilty of probably having thousands of photos on our phones. You can always start from there and you can go into your gallery. I'm going to go into my favorites. I'm going to scroll back in time and I pick a picture I like. Here, I made this because I saw something like it in a shop and it cost a lot of money and I thought I can do that myself. So if I scroll back in time and find a photo and I think, oh, that's a perfect artifact, I can choose that. I can click the share button at the bottom left. Oops, you all can't see that, can you? Can you see my share, Heather?
No,
well,
you can see the share on the screen, Ellen.
Excuse me?
You cannot see the share button on the screen.
Okay, so that's interesting fact. So when you choose a photo on your phone, in the bottom left corner, there is a share icon. Now I have an iOS device and it looks like a square with an upward arrow. I'm going to push that button and I'm going to choose the Artifacts app to share to. And when I do this, I see an option. Do I want to add a new artifact or an existing artifact? Apparently, I got to do it this way. I'm going to choose, I want to make a new artifact. And once I do that, it will automatically ask me which photos I want to include. And I'm going to choose my calendar again. And here I have both, and I can continue creating the artifact. Now I'm going to hit save, and Heather is going to talk through how to fill in some of these more interesting fields that you have as optional within the artifact.
Great, thank you, Ellen. So we do want to cover some of our more interesting and most used fields in the app. The first, of course, is name your artifact. So this is really, you can have a lot of fun here. Pick your title. It can be any title. Some folks like to get really creative. As you can see, Ellen's going for my crazy artifact. Other folks like to be really literal. My calendar and my horseshoe. Still others like to be funny, or we joke with an artifacts, dad joke punny. It's totally up to you. Once you have your name of your artifact, you can also then pick, add in your description. It could be 5 words, it could be 500. I am very guilty of writing longer stories and having it be several paragraphs, but you really can just have, as Ellen shown, 5 simple words. Pick your country, you're good to go. Now that we've done the basis, the core of what the artifact is, let's go down to talk about some of the more interesting fields. One of them is in the future. Ellen, if you could highlight that field. Oh, there we go. This is really important to us and hopefully all of our members, because we want you to think about, you have this item, you have the stuff. What do you want to happen to it in the future? There are 4, or actually 5 very simple items to choose from. You can choose to, if you want to sell it in the future, you pick to sell. You can even set a reminder or set the app to remind you, in 6 months, remind me I want to sell this item. It's a great way to keep things top of mind. If you choose not to sell, say you want to make a charitable donation, this is a great way. If you're going through your items, you want to give an item to a specific charity, note here which charity you want to be donated to. And if you have the contact email or address, that's great. The more information, the better. This really helps you essentially sort through your stuff when you're thinking about what happens to it in the future. The next category is bequeath. So if you've got someone in the family you want this to go to, this is a great field to use. I often choose, my daughter or my husband, other loved ones, or even friends that I want to have a certain item if I'm no longer here in the future. Great. Artifacts helps me tackle this. This was really important for us when building the app, because what happened with me and my family and my mother, she left 6,000 square feet full of stuff, and there was no clue what she wanted to happen with that stuff in the future. So if you're able to take these simple steps and help your loved ones know in the future, what do you want to happen to this? That really does help. The next field after bequeath is keep in the family. This is generic. If you're not sure exactly who to give the item to or who you want it to go to, but you want it to stay in the family, this is a great one to choose. We were artifacting with my mother-in-law this past weekend, and there's a handmade cane chair. She wants to stay in the family. It doesn't matter which son gets it, but as long as it's in the family, keep it in the family. And last but not least, too late. This is one of our, I think, most used and really fun ones, but oftentimes folks will artifact an item as they're downsizing, or maybe, in my case, it's kit art. I may not keep every piece of kit art, but I do want to keep the memory. So you can always choose too late. I've already parted with it. Enjoy the memory. And that's great too. That is our in the future field. All right. Up next, we've got the what's it worth button. Oh, actually, let's do document. We're in the app. Let's do documentation first. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. Let's talk about documentation. When you're in the app creating your artifact, you have the opportunity to add documentation. This is really helpful if you have a warranty, certificate of appraisal, a certificate of authenticity, a receipt, anything that's going to add additional details or even, color to your artifact. This is really important to have. Great for insurance purposes, great for estate plans. So go into documentation. You can pick the document you want to attach. You can attach Excel spreadsheets, Word docs, PDFs, even photos. Pick what type of document it is. Ellen's chosen an Excel spreadsheet. She's uploaded it. If you can add up to 3 documents, she's labeled that as a warranty. So if you have, say, you've got a warranty, you've got a receipt, and you've got a certificate of authenticity, those are your 3 documents. Those would all be extremely useful if you ever had to file an insurance claim or if you're exporting this artifact to your estate plan. You can also, once you've uploaded the document, you've selected what type it is, you can also create a new name for this document. So say if you upload that warranty and it's a bunch of gobbledygook from the store that you got it from, you can rename it. Warranty for, and then name the artifact. So warranty for my crazy horseshoe. This really helps you, again, connect the dots where you've got the artifact, the story, the history, and now you have the documentation to go with it. So you're not trying to search through a bunch of online files or folders or even physical files or folders. Everything is right there with the document. One important item to note is that you see the padlock both within in the future and documentation. This means that even when you choose to share this artifact, these items will stay private to you unless you give the viewer full control. And this was important to us that if you're deciding what do you want to happen to this item in the future, or you're uploading a receipt or a certificate of authenticity, maybe you've got this beautiful Picasso hanging behind you and you've artifacted it and you want to share to your closest friends and neighbors. We don't want you sharing all of those financial details, or we don't want you sharing what's going to happen to it next. So it remains private to you and essentially to you only, which allows you to then have plenty of time to have the conversations with loved ones if someone's going to inherit the item in the future. It also allows you to, again, not disclose any personal information you don't want to disclose, be it on a receipt, appraisal, anything of that nature. All right, shall we move on to the what's it worth? At this point, we can click save or click done, and we've saved the artifact. Now that you've made the artifact, you've added your description, your story, you've added in key details, hopefully you filled out in the future, and hopefully you've added documentation if you have it. You can now scroll down and see the what's it worth button. We get a lot of questions about this, and it's also one of our favorite features. So we've partnered with Heritage Auctions out of Dallas, Texas. And what will happen when you click the what's it worth button, you'll get this pop-up, and it essentially you confirm that you want to send all the information in the artifact over to Heritage Auctions. You check the box. We also have an optional box if you're interested in an appraisal, which is different than evaluation. Appraisal can be used for insurance purposes or for estate planning. You can also click that box, confirm your contact email, click send. Click confirm and then send. When you send this off to Heritage, typically within 5 to 7 business days, you will receive back attached to your artifact a valuation report that will essentially say, we've seen items like this, age, state, condition, whatever that happens to be, sell at auction for this amount. I've used this a couple of times, actually more than a couple of times, but one of my most recent uses was trying to determine the value of a lapis lazuli necklace I purchased when I was over in Afghanistan decades ago. And I filled out all the information. I filled out the total weight. That's one of our optional fields. I filled out the dimensions, also gave a lot of details about the actual purchasing of the necklace. I had purchased it for, I think, maybe $20 in a bazaar over in Afghanistan, and the valuation came back and said, based on all this information and the weight and the measurements, that it was likely somewhere between $200 and $500. But because it was a piece of jewelry, Heritage did advise me to double check with a local appraiser in my area if I wanted to have a specific appraisal for insurance purposes. And they gave me contact details. So it was really helpful to me. I was very surprised at how much it was worth based on how much I paid for it. And I was very thankful for their input. So it's a great feature to have. We have a lot of other fun features on the app. Along the top bar, you can see the edit feature. So you can always go back in and edit anytime you want to add details to your artifact. One over from edit is export. This is great if you're looking to print off, let's say, a list of all of your artifacts. You can export to Excel. You can export to PDF. We have a lot of folks who love to export to PDF and then print it off and put it in a 3-ring binder. So now you essentially have almost like a book of your artifacts. You can print it off artifact by artifact. So as you add them over time, print off copies if you choose to. One of my favorite features is the QR code. And this is great if you're artifacting items around your house, and some definitely have not just heart value, but also monetary value. Click the QR code. On the mobile app, you can save to photos and then print off when you're connected to a printer. If you're doing it on a desktop or a laptop, you'll have the option to print directly. This is great to take the QR code, pop it on the back of that painting, or inside a jewelry box, or in my case, I keep a QR code in my grandmother's china in the teapot. If anything ever happens to me, someone's going through my stuff, they can easily scan the QR code, understand, hey, wait, this is grandma's china. Here's a story. Here's the history. This is why it matters. And by the way, here's the value of this and what I want to happen next. You can also from the app share an artifact, and I'll let Ellen take it back over and discuss sharing artifacts from here.
Thanks, Heather. So QR codes are actually a kind of hidden way you can also share. So sometimes people do click the QR code because they're standing next to somebody and they scan it and up it pops and they can jump right to the artifact. But the sharing feature is pretty powerful. So it's very much like on the desktop version, but with a little bit of a bonus because you're on your mobile. Now this artifact I created is private, but I have by default shared all of my artifacts with my husband, who you can see his name down there. So in your account settings on artifacts, you can say always share with. And in this case, I have my husband set to always see all of my artifacts. The artifact is otherwise private. That is why Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and share are all grayed out. And you have this notice that if I want to share it into social media or otherwise, I should toggle that. And I can do it by quickly clicking on it, and I'll make it private again because it is a crazy artifact, but I can toggle it to public and it will allow me to then pop it into social media. A lot of people do this to send it into collectors groups or genealogy research groups, things like that. And so now you see Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are no longer grayed out. I could actually select one of those and post it there. The bonus here in regards to sharing that is unique from desktop, so we'll spend a moment on it, is the share link. When you share the link on here, you can actually choose to whom you want to share it or to what app. Now, when you share it with somebody, it will send them that link. Be mindful that if you haven't given them access to the private artifact, once they click it, they're going to see request access. So you'll get a request button. So it's just something to be mindful of. We do have a notification built into our app so that if someone requests access and you have notifications enabled on your phone, you will receive a notification that someone has requested access. Now, if someone shared your artifact after you shared it with them and you don't want them to have access, just like on the desktop, you can ignore that request and nothing will happen. They will not see your artifact. Now, just like on desktop, I won't spend much time on it, but you can actually put people in via their name or their email as well. Just as you see, I have my husband down there, and you can always change their access controls. I could give him edit access or full control, just like I can on the desktop version of Artifacts as well. So that's the essence of sharing. The other thing that we wanted to point out is privacy. Now, I toggled this one to public. So you see this little globe icon. Anyone can view this artifact. I would like to toggle that back to private because it is a crazy artifact. And you can see that it is viewable by one person, my husband. I can edit that and add others from here. You also see that the globe icon has now changed to a person with a padlock. That's your visual cue that while it's private, some people have access. And you can, again, you can click edit to change that information here on the mobile, or same on desktop. Look for that icon, you can click it and you can change it very, very quickly. So that is the essence here. We did get a question direct that I wanted to address that is about the notifications. So again, notifications is something that is controlled by you. So every notification, you have an option to control whether you get the notification in the app. You have to enable that on your phone. As well as on the desktop, you have a little bell icon. You'll see them here in the bell icon on desktop always. Now, whether or not you want those by email is completely up to you. So I receive notifications for people I'm following, new connections in my network. If people share artifacts with you, you can see a whole variety. There's a little capsule following that tells me where I got these artifacts from. We do post new articles as well into notifications, and you'll get those here so that you can see who's been joining and what activity has been up to. But if you want those emails, that's up to you. Sign in on artifacts.com, go to the bell icon, and there is an option to manage your email notifications. You can have daily, weekly, or monthly notifications, or none at all sent to your email. With that, I'm going to pause. And Heather, can you let us know if we have any questions? And if you have any questions, please chime into the chat now.
Ellen, we had one question about whether or not we had a handout. So we popped the link into the quick start guide into the chat for everyone. And we also popped the link of our FAQs into the chat. Those are both great resources for people to reference back to if you have any questions while either using the app or the website. A lot of folks like to print off the quick start guide and keep it handy as they start artifacting. We find it to be a really useful resource. We also have another question, Ellen. How much this data is local and how much lives on a server somewhere?
So Artifacts is based on a private server on AWS. So all of this information is cloud-based. So we do not have an offline version. So you will always be connected to the internet when you're creating and modifying your artifacts.
Great. Those are the questions we have to date. We've got another question. Is there a fee from heritage auctions?
So no, so when you request that valuation, the valuation itself is free, because evaluation, just to be very clear, is different from an appraisal. So valuation is a point in time, given what they can see about the object in today's market. You know, here's that clock, and that maker is of this time period, and that clock you have is of this condition. And on today's market, they'll tell you it would go for something like X. Now, that is point in time. If tomorrow the market gets flooded with those clocks, I'm really sorry, but your valuation probably will go down. The appraisal is the optional field in my here. And you can ask Heritage, if I did want this appraised, what would be an appraisal cost? Now, if they come back and tell you something's worth $10,000, estimated valuation, you probably want to go ahead and get that appraisal, and they'll tell you how much it costs. You don't have to get an appraisal from them. You can go wherever you like, but it gives you that ballpark understanding of what that appraisal cost would be. Now, if they tell you it's probably worth a lot to you, but not on the market, you might want to reconsider that appraisal.
Thank you, Ellen. We've got another question. Can I add categories to home?
So all of our categories are preset, and let me show you what that looks like on the app. So here, what is it? All of these categories are here. You can actually type to search one of the popular ones we've been talking about lately is recipes. You can type to find those. So you can't create new categories, but what I think is actually more powerful, and we'd love to hear how it works for you, is that when you create an artifact, you can add as many tags as you want. So I can say that I want to tag this. I often tag my daughter's name, for example, Violet, so I can easily sort. I will add things for recipes I was talking about. I will say dessert, and I'll add that tag. So you can add as many custom tags as you want. And the joy of that is that when you have saved your artifact, those tags are clickable. So if you go into your artifacts collection and you tap on that tag in your collection, it'll bring up every artifact you've created and have tagged dessert. So it creates infinite folders essentially for you.
Great. Thank you, Ellen. We've got another question. How does a will compare to artifacts noted heritage items? Does one trump another? I can jump in and answer this one. So we want to be very clear. We are not a legal company. We do not create wills or estate plans. Artifacts is meant to be a tool to help you tackle all of those tangible assets as lawyers like to state in a will or an estate plan. And this is really, really important. Most wills or estate plans will have a clause or a paragraph that states all tangible assets, i.e. all of your personal property, is to be divided. And then you can either say equally among whoever, next of kin, siblings, parents, children, whatever that happens to be, or you can list specific people and specific items. Oftentimes, for ease of planning and purposes, folks will simply state divided equally among 3 children. That's what, happened with our family. And then you're given a memorandum, a blank sheet of paper that your lawyer gives you and tells you, go home and list out specific items and specific people. And majority of folks don't ever fill out that memorandum. So with artifacts, we're trying to be this tool that helps you easily document not just the actual items, but the story and the history behind them, with hopes that if you have the story, you have the history, and you want the item to stay in the family, chances are they're going to keep it in the family because they now know the story behind it. It also helps with the value side for if you get the free valuation from heritage auctions and you now know that stamp collection, grandpa's stamp collection, maybe it's $100, very sentimental, but there's no real monetary value there. Or conversely, hey, that stamp collection is $10,000 and tremendous sentimental value. When dealing with estate plans and wills, if something is $100 versus $10,000 does make a difference. So if you get that free valuation, it's now a valuable item, not just a sentimental one, you probably should take the time to ensure you export that artifact to your estate plan or your will. And you can do that either by exporting the Excel spreadsheet, the PDF, even sending the link or even the QR code to your attorney who covers estate planning and wills. We've got another question. Again, I lost connection. Was there a handout? Yes, we popped the handout into the chat early on. It's called the Quick Start Guide. You can also find it on our frequently asked questions page. Follow-up question about the will and artifacts. So could you refer to the artifacts listing in a will? Yes, definitely. As co-founders, this is what we do. I've artifacted kind of all of our items of any financial value. I've made sure to note which child gets which items. And then we've shared that with our estate planner via QR code. Ellen's showing you right here how to do that from the website. Simply click the QR code, export that. You can also share, again, Excel spreadsheet, PDF, whatever version makes the most sense to you and your attorney who does estate planning and wills. Some estate planners are very digital savvy and very digital forward, and the QR code is great. Others really want to have that printed off PDF that has all the photos and all the details, and still others prefer an Excel spreadsheet. So it's really between you and whoever's doing your estate planning or your legal work, but there's many ways to ensure you can export that artifact so that it is legally covered in your will or your estate plan.
We also have a question about how to add in new people to artifacts so that it's easier for sharing. And so that's actually why I jumped into the website, where I want to show you how easy it is to do. And there are multiple options for doing this. The first is you can go up here to the plus icon in the top banner, and you can click Add Personal Contact. This is where you can enter the first name, last name, email, and send them a message. This will send an automatic email that tells them, hey, so-and-so is inviting you to Artifacts, click here to sign up for free. And they can create their free account and get started. This will also mean that you'll be able to very easily search and find them when you're doing the sharing options. Now, as noted here, if you want to import multiple contacts at once, you can go to your account profile section to do so. And we have options to connect directly to Gmail, so you can import your contacts directly. You can also create an Excel list where if you're an organization, you might want to do that, or you can import a CSV. Now, to import a CSV, we gave you directions here. They do change a lot. We try and keep up to date with how the big email providers do it, but we give you step-by-step on how you can download your contacts to what's called the CSV and then upload them here. I did that with some of my emails, like my Yahoo Mail. I don't use it a lot and it's older, so I downloaded to CSV. I got rid of the emails I didn't really need, and then I just click the button on that page, import CSV, and it auto-populates all the contacts for me. Now, when you do import contacts, you can also choose if you want to automatically follow new contacts, and you'll also have that option that I mentioned earlier with notifications if you want to get notifications when they join Artifacts. And this here is where I mentioned you can manage your email-based alerts, and you can say which ones you want weekly or instantly, and you can change those at any time with the little button here.
Ellen, we've got another fun question about your background picture. Someone would like to know where it is and what's it from. It looks like a set from Indiana Jones.
Oh, it was. That's well done, whoever identified that. So I went to Petra recently. Artifacts was on a panel in a technology conference in Tel Aviv, and a short 24-hour round trip. I was able to go here to Petra, Jordan, and visit one of the 7 wonders of the world. And it was used in the Indiana Jones movie, and nearby is also the area where they filmed a lot of the Star Wars movies. So people were, if you're into those things, we're quite excited to see those. And I actually created an artifact about my trip to Petra, and that's where this image comes from. Here's my artifact. I'll show you. I did actually include just a little cheat. I have a little video of the first time I saw this building, which is called the Treasury, even though it's a cemetery.
And Ellen, this actually ties in very nicely to the next question is, can you add videos just like photos?
Yep, you sure can, as evidence here. So when you create an artifact, whether it's on your phone, as I showed you, you can choose there or here. I'll stick here just because I'm already here. When I click new artifact, you'll see where you can add your files, or you can browse from wherever you store them. And we indicate the various formats that are permitted as well. And so you can drag those and input them here. And just like I showed you on mobile, you can rearrange your artifact images and videos and audio. Here I put the video first, but when I click edit, I can modify the sequence of these images so that they kind of flow with the story that I'm telling within the artifact itself.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Are there any other questions from the audience? I want to make sure we get to all your questions. Oh, we've got one. If you create an artifact on the phone, will it also be on my computer? Yes, the answer is yes, it definitely will. So as Ellen mentioned earlier, we are a cloud-based platform. So if you create an artifact on your phone, it will appear instantly on your website, on your computer, your desktop, whatever other device you're using, and vice versa. If you create one on your desktop, it will appear then on the app on the phone. Follow-on question, is there a limit to how many pictures and videos you can add to an artifact?
Yes. So when you create an artifact, it's up to 5 files, and those can be any combination of photo, video, and audio, and up to 100 megabytes. So sometimes people do have part 1 and part 2, but generally we're doing pretty well with 5 to tell a concise story.
And the other piece to add there too is that in the documentation we discussed earlier, you can add up to 3 documents. So sometimes folks will, if you don't want a photo to be seen by everyone, since documentation is always private, you can add an extra photo into the documentation field. You can also, when you attach your documentation, that receipt, the warranty, certificate of appraisal, that does not count against your 5 photo, video, or audio files.
And I would add, so we were at Roots Tech conference in Salt Lake City week before last at this point, and we mentioned that genealogists have been very clever with how they resolve the fact that they might have 100 photos or more or documents related to someone. What they have shown us, which is very clever, is in the full form where you can add a lot more details. They are using the current location field in order to add website addresses or storage locations or folder locations. So we found that very interesting workaround. When we built current location, we really were thinking, hall closet or attic or a storage location. And I guess this is a storage location, just not the type we were thinking of, but I think that's a very clever use, because what the problem is that we heard and we confirmed last week at Roots Tech was, okay, if I have a gallery with 1,000 photos, it's 1,000 photos. They're not connected. They're not telling a story. And that's what we're intending to do here.
Great. Thank you, Ellen. Are there any additional questions? No? All right. Well, absent any additional questions, we will close out our webinar today. It has been recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. I'll pop that in there so everyone has reference to that. It's a great resource if you haven't checked it out yet, of all of our quick tip series. So we have a number of videos that offer quick tips of everything from how to create tags, how to add photos, how to use the in the future field, as well as some of our longer videos from the Evenings with Artifacts series. You can hear Matt Paxton talk about how he artifacts and why he loves it for keeping the memories and not all the stuff, to even one of our partners, Sarah Reeder with Artifactual History, who talks about silver, appraisal and care and use, a wide range of topics on our YouTube site. And here is the address for everyone, another great reference when you're thinking about how to artifact and looking for additional resources. With that, we will thank you all for joining us today. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to the team at hello@artifacts.com. I'm also sharing that into the chat as well. And we are thrilled for feedback, for questions. If you want to share any of your stories, we also have a series called Curator's Choice, which comes out typically on Mondays. If you have a special artifact you want us to feature in that series, feel free to reach out and contact us about that too. We love hearing from our members. So with that, thank you so much. Really appreciate you all taking the time to join us this morning, and have a great day.